Bonjour, Melindas. Welcome to another episode of Frenchy and the Creep. My name's Steve Lawrence. I'm Frenchy. With me today is
George the Creep.
And what we do here is we go through found footage festivals volumes that are found on the Super Long Play Club. It's going to be found at their website, foundfootagefest.com. George and I are both still locked down in quarantine and bored, like I know many of us are. And so we wanted to do I wanted to do a deeper dive into, Joe and Nick's collection. I twisted George's arm and begged for him to come and help me out, and he has. George, what am I forgetting to tell people?
Well, Nick Brewer and Joe Pickett are VHS archivists who have curated the Found Footage Festival for the last 15 years. They've given presentations at theaters around the United States and around the world, actually, and they've been releasing DVDs throughout that time to great acclaim. And their Volume 9 tour was intended to sweep across the country this spring, but a viral pandemic beat them to it. So you can join the Super Long Play Club to help support the guys who are our friends.
They are. Did you do any research on this, the IMDb? What was the overall?
Yes. Their IMDb listing for this is great because, first of all, their cast, you've got Scott Baio, Dirk Benedict, face from the A-Team. You got Slim Goodbody, you got Malcolm Jamal Warner. This is not a collection of individuals who have been in any other film. And of course, with Joe and Nick. And you'll note that it has a rating of a 7.9. And some other films with a 7.9 rating are The Irishman from 2019, Little Women from 2019, 80s classic The Breakfast Club from 85, and of course 1915's The Incorrigible Duquesne.
I have to check that one out. I've never seen that one.
Yeah, neither have I. But it's got to be a classic because it's old.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it's up from the last one. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so the last one was, I believe, a 7.6.
I think so. What were some of your favorites? What did you like about this volume?
I thought Joe and Nick had magnificent banter in this one. They had some great mini sketches added to several of these presentations. And you want specifics?
Yeah.
Okay.
What were some of your favorites?
Well, one of my favorites was the Get Rich Quick montage.
My teachers told me, when you get out of high school, you're going to want to get a good job. I never graduated from high school.
It's true. Hey, my name is Kent Hovind. I was a high school science teacher 15 years, and I now travel the country and speak on creation, evolution, and dinosaurs.
You're going to gain information as I share with you knowledge. I have the knowledge, and I want to share this with you so you can then have the knowledge. Do you have information? Do you have knowledge? I want to make sure that you have this knowledge and this information. Information is the total game of life. I have the information and I have the knowledge, and I'm going to share that with you today.
Because it's both insane and evil. These were infomercials and video cassettes that they vary in production quality, but they're consistent in their bullshittery for people who are either down on their luck or excessively greedy and are trying to better their circumstances, perhaps. My favorite clip was from one called Work From Home. It was shot with a camcorder. I think it was a continuous shot, and the host says, well, clearly we didn't waste money making this, and that is accurate.
Hello, I'd like to welcome you. I'm glad that you've taken this opportunity to sit down and watch this video. I want you to know right up front that we purposely did not try to make this video look slick. We did not hire professionals to come in.
That was one of my favorites too. I just love when anyone puts off like the reason why that they don't have a top-notch production is they didn't want to spend money on it. So
wow, it's a fact. How about you? What were some things that you liked?
Well, I mean, the VCR covers I thought was one of the best versions of that. It's one that they've done in numerous ones.
With adventures in customer courtesy, what the fuck is going on here?
What is happening?
As far as we're concerned, this is as close to perfecting the VHS cover as you can get.
They nailed it. They got it exactly
perfection.
Right. Some videos we find just stand the test of time. This is one of them. If this cover teaches us anything, it's never get caught mid-whistle on a photo.
That's one of the things I love going on the Melindaverse, which is a site on Facebook everyone's been posting their favorite VCR covers. And I feel like Joe and Nick might be due for a new book for their VCR covers.
Yes, these box covers were their own sort of aesthetic style. It's things, it's weird. I'll see one now and have flashbacks to being in a video store when I was like 10 or 15. And then they're able to curate ones that are extremely hilarious.
What did you think of the Flower Power pitch?
Okay, so if you haven't seen it before, Flower Power was a videotape that featured its writer, this sort of hippie-looking guy who was describing a proposed blockbuster film that combined Western religion, Eastern mysticism, rock and roll, and like action film, sci-fi special effects. The guy he's so enthusiastic, it pulls you along.
And then suddenly screeched to a halt to watch a young couple making love in the tall green grass. One of the spirits flies into the womb of the woman. The baby develops in the womb and stops at 6 months to play its umbilical cord as a guitar. And we hear a radio news flash which updates us on the latest number of casualties in the Vietnam War. An Indian medicine man comes out of the middle of the band playing his spear as if it were an electric guitar. And then raindrops start to hit David's face to the sound of popcorn. A great big lightning bolt goes kaboom! Then takes him to Satan's bar and grill. Jealous demon gets on stage and plays his pitchfork as if it were an electric guitar. Did you get the meaning to the title, Flower Power? Think about it.
It's crazy. It's completely insane. I like when people are really into what they're into, and this guy is more interested in this project than I think any Coke-fueled like Hollywood pitch has ever been. I would love to see this guy in an actual pitch meeting.
Wish I had that kind of passion and belief in my project that I could just sit there and pitch and sell for 28 minutes with that energy.
Well, next time you're in a meeting, think of the hideous bitch demon.
I will attempt to do that.
What else? What was another segment that you enjoyed?
One of the things I was thinking about is we need to make a found footage video hall of fame. And I know there's probably a couple in this that would probably be in it, but the magical rainbow sponge is just, I think, a hall of fame video.
You asked for it, so here goes. Now watch this. I am sorry, but this is exciting. Look at this color. Oh!
She is absolutely amazing. She's one of my favorite hosts. Her enthusiasm for what she does is contagious. Like, I wanted to get out magical rainbow sponge and, decorate some things.
We should cross-cut the Flower Power pitch and her reacting to it.
All right.
So there's a project.
We'll see if we can throw that together.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear from Melinda's, though, about what would be in their Hall of Fame. Like, what videos should be in the Found Footage Hall of Fame. You can email us at steve@foundfootagefest.com, and I will forward along to George, and we will discuss. But I'd like to start, filling up that Hall of Fame. We're going to have an inaugural class. We can talk to Joe and Nick about it. But I think like some of these, and it would also help people, I think, because there are so many inside jokes and videos that you need to watch, for VCR Party. I think it's not need to, but it just helps, when I feel like sometimes the guys are dropping references or jokes that are flying over my head.
Well, I like the idea of the Hall of Fame, and maybe we can have a ceremony in which the videotapes are raised to the ceiling, so that anybody who comes in can appreciate. Oh, there's Dee Grunig.
Yes.
What the patron saints? There's Sister Sam. These are the patron saints of the Found Footage Festival.
And one more, and this one's different that I want to talk about, the Kenny Strasser. And now that's like, this is where they've jumped headlong into, I don't want to say pranks because they've kind of always been pranking, but this was their big con. And it is one, like, I am one of those people, whenever I watch something like that, I had to pause numerous times because I get so uncomfortable.
Same. I felt my cringe level was near the top.
Mark, I'm going to mispronounce his last name, so I won't even attempt.
I believe it's Proch, because I didn't know how to pronounce it, so I had to find a video online where he said his name.
Thanks. But I mean, he is just amazing. He's obviously a very talented actor. We've seen him, I believe, in The Office. You were saying you've seen him in Better Call Saul.
Yep.
And right now he is, What We Do in the Shadows. He's on that show as a energy suck vampire, and just absolutely amazing actor. And he channels it all right here when he's talking about his divorces, or just everything happens at the inopportune time, answering the phone on air, like just beyond gold.
He's an award-winning and master yo-yoist, and he's from right here in our area.
Basically, at one time, this saved my life. I was literally in the gutter, and it was gambling, drugs, women, lotto. Well, that's basically gambling. I am just a 35-year-old kid at heart, twice divorced. I have no kids. I don't have a girlfriend, don't want one. Actually, I've only been in one school so far, and I'll be honest, it didn't go so hot. I come from a home that believed in spanking. I have a brother in Portland who I don't get along with very well because of his wife. I'm not going to go. It's my dad. Hi.
We're dealing with some issues this morning,
Yep.
so we will actually just head that back to Jeff and Bow, and we'll be joining you a bit more with some of these yo-yo tricks.
Somebody somewhere was waking up, eating their cornflakes, and watching this insane thing happen. That must have been... Well, actually, I don't... Does anybody actually watch morning shows, or is it just something to drone on in the background when you're getting the traffic and weather? I don't know.
I think a lot of people do. And
Okay.
I think a lot of the people were probably just absolutely confused, because I don't think that, many people got the joke. They just thought this guy was a terrible yo-yoer, because once again, who would think that someone would do that? I'm very gullible, so I would, midway through, I probably would have gotten it, but certainly not at the beginning.
Well, yeah, it's part of the cringe is watching the faces of the hosts who, are trying to just keep things moving. I mean, you're a director. You know that probably somebody was yelling in the host's ear, like, keep it, say something, do anything to make this advance.
And the fact that Mark could not do like one yo-yo trick.
Yes.
And they mentioned that they had to write to this, but the fact that he couldn't do one yo-yo trick makes it all the more impressive that he's able to kind of lead you along, and then he's still able to, without being able to do one trick, keep you in there.
When I'm with students, what I say is, life has a lot of ups and downs. And see, these yo-yos are great for the environment, not so great for yo-yos. This keeps happening to me. And we're like, all right, everybody, let's take it down to the ground and we'll get into a Huey. And we get going. Oops. All right, everyone, we're gonna switch it off here and let's bring it back home for a clean landing. 10-4.
It's something to behold.
That's a great cut. What else for you?
Well, I get this is a personal thing, but I found the music lessons montage to be especially cringeworthy. I, had taken some instrument lessons when I was a kid and found them unpleasant. I mean, I don't know if they're supposed to be pleasant, but I certainly wasn't a natural musician. But this video brought back lots of memories of that. When you have the virtuoso teacher who every once in a while will just like start wanking on their instrument.
Hello, I'm Beaver Felton for Super Chops for Bass. Okay, we're going to be covering a lot of different things. Techniques we're going to deal with are finger style. We're going to do some two-handed tapping, some slapping.
Hello, I'm Larry Little. Welcome to Learn Keyboard on VCR.
Now, one place where I've utilized this technique is in a song called Sexually Active. It's on my first album.
again, it just brought back some painful memories that I enjoyed.
Well, it's worked. You're obviously a very talented musician. Overlord is George's band. If you have not checked it out, I highly recommend it. So what else? What other things we want to point out? I'm not going to show out of respect to Nick, but Nick is shirtless twice in this.
Yes, yes.
And once the gentlemen are in his Speedos. So, I mean, I think that's going to send a lot of people to the Super Long Play Club.
Yeah, if we just started with that, no one would have watched the rest of this episode. Because that's really the meat of this episode of Frenchy and the Creep. It's the big reveal. Is their reveal.
I think Frank Bachowski may have sent Joe on a vision quest.
What were their reactions to it?
I would say that...
besides boredom, I saw some of them look a little bored.
Well, I take offense to that. I think that a lot of times people mistake boredom for excitement.
He says, I think some people confuse boredom for excitement. Now, is that the moment that Joe got sent down the tedium rabbit hole?
It's funny, in my notes, I have the exact same thing written, that phrase, because it showed the sort of duality of Nick and Joe.
Well, I do have one more thing, but before, I feel like this is a good segue. I mean, I'm trying to look into Joe's mind, but nobody does better armchair analysis than you, George.
Armchair Analysis with George the Creep. Conspicuous in their absence from this and really any volume of the Found Footage Festival are clips of Nick Pruer's favorite television program, Alien Lifeform, or ALF to the hoi polloi. The show's premise promises a wish fulfillment fantasy of Nick's, namely to be spirited away from all other humans and placed somewhere unfathomably distant, where he can live shamelessly naked and able to indulge in his dietary whims, cracking wise as the only member of his species among an alien race. And yet, is Nick's desire to escape all other humans, or is it merely the price he's willing to pay just to evade the externalization of his own self-loathing, his lifelong professional partner and personal tormentor, Mr. Joseph Pickett? And until Nick's galactic departure is fully realized, will a seemingly unending collection of vintage and slightly moldy ALF merchandise provide a sufficient protective cocoon? As ALF would say, ha!
Well said. That's deep. I mean, I could see Nick nodding along with a lot of that, and some of it just really hitting him a little bit too close to the core. Melendez, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And what other areas that George, and both Nick and Joe's psyche, should George dive deeper into and kind of explain to us? I think he's doing a great job. I think I personally getting a better understanding of Nick and Joe through it. So thank you for what you're doing.
I appreciate your support, and I hope Nick and Joe get a better insight into themselves and to each other to provide more lubricant in their interactions.
There's one other thing I wanted to bring up, and it's one of my favorite things that Nick and Joe do together. It is Joe, like we were talking about with Kenny Strasser. What Joe likes to, you notice that Joe was not in the prank until the third version. What Joe likes to do is much more pull the strings, be the puppet master. So first it was Kenny Strasser. The next big one was Nick doing Chef Keith. And then finally Joe comes in with Chop and Steal. But one of the other things he's done that was, I think, a much smaller version of this that led into it, and they talk about it a little bit here without showing any clips, is the 2-word challenge, I guess. I don't remember exactly what they call it. But
okay, the fun part for us about touring and doing the show is we get to share our video collection with people like you. That's the best part. The part that gets kind of old, and it's not like we're not grateful for the press coverage, but is when we do these morning TV interviews. You find yourself giving the same answers over and over. So we've found ways to entertain just ourselves while we're doing them.
Yeah, we started doing something recently called the 2-word challenge, where right before we go on air, I'll challenge Nick to say 2 words casually at some point in the interview.
What was WGN? We did
Chattanooga Nosebleed.
Right.
He worked in Chattanooga Nosebleed.
Yeah.
On there. My favorite one of all time was in Houston, Texas. He actually said basketball murderers on air.
That was a toughie. That was a toughie.
Each time they would be on television together, Joe would give Nick something he had to say, and they didn't show any of the videos here. I know they're out there. So Melinda's, help me find. I'd like to do that, and let's find as many as we can. I found one. I spent the morning today trying to find a video, and George, here, I'm going to show it to you now.
Exercise videos and home movies and public access.
Yeah, now we even it's evolved where we like VHS covers. So we look for hand-labeled tapes that say weird things like, we find a tape that'll say Snickerdoodle scaffolding. Well, what's on that? Let's watch it, find out. So
Snickerdoodle scaffolding, obviously nothing. I asked the guys just to confirm this morning, but yeah, that was just Joe asked Nick to drop that in and find a way. And I want to find the rest of them. Melinda's, please help. We're going to have to watch a lot of these videos and just please send me the links. And I want to do a supercut because Joe and Nick are never going to go back through and watch themselves again. And I'd like to get every moment where they're together. And also, I mean, who doesn't want to just see Joe with his bedhead? And Nick, if you're upset that we didn't show you in the Speedo or shirtless today, just let us know. We will do a special section where we dive through and try to find as many shirtless photos of you as possible to show. All right, Nick. I got Nick on the brain now. All right, George. So I think I've gone through everything I want to. Anything else that you feel as though we've forgotten to talk about here?
Well, let's see. I think you wanted to mention about what we're going to watch next week.
We've been talking about different ways to kind of tweak this, and as it goes on, and we just don't want it to make it. Like I think this episode's probably a little bit different than the last. We're still trying to find our footing in this. I'm not ever in front of the camera. I'm usually always behind the camera, and obviously with good reason. But I am having fun doing this, and thank you again, George, for doing it. But what we thought was next week we could do, instead of a volume, a VCR party, and kind of talk about, and I wanted to do VCR Party 0, episode 0, the first one, and kind of talk about how it came together and just the different things that have changed over time and why and how, and just do a deep dive on that. I just think it would be fun for me, really.
Yeah.
And hopefully
there are a lot of changes. They start out on a couch. They evolved to being in chairs. They were in their previous office.
And different microphones, a lot of different things. No lights, no anything. This is before Patreon. And thank you once again for all the Patreon members out there. And I think now's a good time to talk about it. Is, the guys, Volume 9 tour had to be canceled. So if you're in a position where you're looking for more content, because they at $10 above, they are doing an EP episode every single week. Those are a lot of fun. They're deep dives into the collection. They sit there, they watch the entire tape and comment on it. So you can kind of see their process a little bit more of how they go through and how they find these tapes. So so if you're able to, please donate it. I know that it's appreciated, and it's helped VCR Party grow so much.
Yes, many additions to the tech came from that, right? I believe the lav mics and the lights and
lav mics,
extra cameras.
Yep, everything. So there's a lot, and it's been great how generous the Melindas are and continue to be. I know the guys are appreciative of it. Thank you so much, George, for all you're doing. You're keeping me sane, buddy. Until next week, VCR Party 0, remember, my nose isn't full of yuck anymore.
I'm not ready for the wild thing.